The Varnak drifted in space. Dozens of broken ships floated among stars, their lights dim. The creatures on board once called themselves explorers, but now they were refugees. They had lost world after world. One by one, they had to run. The galaxy called them cursed. No one helped. They ran alone. For years, the Varnak fleet limped across the void. Food was thin. Water was recycled until nearly gone. Engines squeaked and shuddered. Some ships had no shields. Most were quiet, almost. Dead, the Varnak felt alone. In every crowded sector they passed, ships turned away. No one offered safe port. Their distress calls bounced into silence. No answer came. Inside the biggest ship, the Corvallis, the Varnak leader Kale looked through the viewport. Beyond the glass, stars glimmered cold. He saw nothing but emptiness. He felt the weight of hopelessness. Many of his people died on this journey. They lost children. They lost families. They lost faith. Kale took slow steps across the command deck. The air smelled of recycled metal and burnt circuits. He touched the cool console. Numbers blinked red. Hunger, 3 days food left. Engines failing, shields under 17%. He stared at the display. It made no sound. It showed the truth. They were dying. He stood in silence. The deck thrummed gently from failing engines. Around him, his officers looked exhausted. Some had white streaks in their dark skin from stress. Others spoke only in whispers, afraid to disturb the dread in their hearts. Kale cleared his throat. "We cannot go on like this," he said softly. His voice echoed in the still room, and then fewer heartbeats. No one moved. He waited. Then he continued. "We face death soon." A high lieutenant Vela stepped forward. She was young, weary, but fierce. "Our engines break and water stores drop. If we stop at the nearest station, they will kill us." "They always kill us." Kale nodded slowly. "Then we prepare." "What we must." He paused. "We may have to abandon the smaller ships. There are too many mouths to feed. Our engines cannot protect them." Murals of past Varnak victory covered the walls once long ago, now faded. Once they were proud, now they were near broken. Kale felt the guilt. He had to choose who lived and who died. He felt sick inside. But he had promised survival. He walked toward the large light board showing fleet status. It showed 22 ships. 6 were beyond repair. The reserves were empty. Life support failing. If they abandoned those ships, maybe 12 could survive. Maybe 16. It was still a risk. The others would drift until cold. Velas said quietly, "Only 4 days left, Commander." Kale looked her in the eye. "So soon," he swallowed. "We prepare." The vote. The Varnak Council assembled. Their voices sounded hollow. They argued quietly. Some said keep all ships. Let them die with honor. Others said save fewer, sacrifice the rest. There was no comfort. No right answer. Kale's heart pounded. He looked at each counselor. They were worn, eyes sunken. Hands trembling. At the end of hours, Kale declared the decision. Half the fleet must be abandoned. Those crews would go to safe rooms. They would await rescue. But rescue would never come. The ship doors would seal. Life support would shut down. The council bowed. They knew the truth. Tears leaked. Kale felt the weight of death heavy on his mind. Was this real leadership? Could he live with this choice? He returned to the command deck. He tried to sleep, but images of closing doors haunted him. He tried to eat, but his stomach twisted. He looked at the viewport. Stars looked cold, uncaring. As the vote progressed, a message blinked in the comm panel. Strange symbols. Unknown language. The code did not match any Varnak dialect. Kale sent it unread. His officers argued, decode quickly or ignore. They had no time. Engines failed. Systems crashed. The panel flickered. The Elise decoded parts. She gasped. It is a human message. Humans' ancient stories said they came from another star. Rarely they appeared in maps. They did not supply the Varnak. They did not trade. Most considered life forms beneath notice. But now, this message had come to a doomed fleet. The panel showed coordinates close by. A human ship? A station? Help? Or trap? Suspense gripped the command deck. All eyes on Kale. Kale's mouth was dry. He leaned. He tapped controls. He answered. His voice shook. Send back. We have no weapons. We merely ship in distress. They waited. Minutes felt like hours. Then the reply, we can help you. Come in peace. Silence followed. A hush deeper than death. The fleet officers looked at one another. Kale raised a finger. Silence, he said. Velis whispered. Should we accept? What if they set us a trap? Kale closed his eyes. He remembered. Stories of fleets begging for mercy. None ever received it. He weighed the risk. To go or stay was death. To stay was likely death. To go was unknown. His voice steadied. We have 4 days before everything fails. We must choose. If we refuse, we die. If we go, they may help. Or kill us, but we must try, the council agreed. They prepared all ships to follow. A human transponder signal appeared on their long-range radar. Ghost-like star glimmered in the void. It moved slowly toward them. Kale watched it approach. He felt his heart pound. Every Varnak soul held their breath. They prepared docking adapters. Food rations and water supplementary packages were loaded. Into pods. Medical beds made ready. Some healed. Some not. The unknown ship came closer. It was white and sleek. It looked peaceful. No weapons. No war machine. Just smooth hull with a large insignia glowing. The signal strength rose. Guidance came. Follow these markers. The Varnak pilots guided their battered ships. One by one, they moved. The markers glowed faintly like beacons of hope. They followed Dot as they neared the human vessel. The Nova Star, the biggest Varnak transport, had engine seizure. It floated dead. The crew panicked. The beacon line flickered. Without help, they would drift into darkness. Kale ordered small human boats, indicated in the projection. Little lifeboats detached. Crew of Nova Star came in silence. No weapons. Drawn, they boarded the broken ship. They moved quickly, cutting locks, unloading supplies, stabilizing engines. Calm but urgent, Velis watched through the viewport. A human girl, maybe early 20s, her hair tied in a braid. She carried a box of food and water. She placed it gently on the deck near survivors. The Varnak crew gasped. They had not seen human kindness like that. They froze. The humans returned to pilot pods and self-retracted. No guns, no guards. Just quiet mercy. The Varnak watched in awe. As soon as the biggest ship regained partial power, its engines flickered. It responded. Varnak pilots breathed. The fleet rejoined the markers. Soon all 22 ships were in formation behind the Nova Star. The human ship led. It seemed ordinary, but to the Varnak, it was a star of mercy. Kale unclenched his hands, his vision blurred. He spoke softly, do not betray this kindness. He meant his people. Do not lose faith. Inside their cabins, Varnak children sobbed with relief. Many had not eaten in days. Now there was food. Water, safety. They did not cry out of sorrow, but relief. Some crept to human windows as they passed. They tried to wave. The humans waved back. For the first time, the Varnak felt trust, but it was fragile. Many of them believed help came with a price. Some whispered, "This is a trap. They feed us to test us." Kale walked the corridors of his ship. Crew looked at him. Some asked, "Why help us now?" He did not yet know. He only felt one thing. They had hope again. He went to the sick bay. Nurses tended patients. The hall echoed with quiet beeps. He saw wounded, healed partly. Some too. Weak to stand, he felt anger toward his own race. He had failed them. But he also felt gratitude. Human medics moved so carefully. They spoke gently. They touched Varnak children with kindness. They cared. One human doctor, Dr. Sarah Lynn, brought Kale a tray of food. It was simple: soup, bread, water. "You must eat, Commander," she said. Her voice was calm, steady. She wore a small insignia, a flower entwined with 2 stars. Kale stared, confused. She smiled softly. "Name is Lynn. You are welcome." Every step Kale took awakened a memory. In past dockyards, human ships dismissed them, even attacked. Now they offered help. He clenched his jaw. He replied, "We are grateful, but we must know why." Dr. Lynn nodded. She sat across from him. They were alone in a small room. Lights soft white. She looked him in the eyes. "We offer help because families do." Kale blinked. He stared. Family? What family? The humans did not even know the Varnak name of the girl stowed in the corner. The human doctor did not know his life story, yet she spoke of family. He felt chills. Kale swallowed. He wanted to ask more, but Dr. Lynn excused herself. She left supplies and moved on to care for others. Kale closed his eyes. He tasted the hot soup. It burned his lips. He remembered hunger. No more hunger. He did not trust completely. He still feared betrayal. But he also felt something new, a spark of hope. Meanwhile, the Nova Star projected a message to the whole fleet: "You are welcome. We will take you to safe colony at Deloria 7. You will be fed, treated, given new shelter. No fees." Some Varnak gasped. No fees? That was impossible. Other species always asked tribute. For food, even life, they charged. Humans seemed to give freely. Velis reported, "Our sensors detect no weapons. They truly offer non-combat aid." Kale paced his quarters. His suit rippled in the dim glow. He could hear distant conversations in corridors, some cautious, some hopeful. He knew they must stand together to survive. He drafted a short announcement. "We follow. We enter their system, but we remain alert. No weapons drawn from any human until trust proven." He posted the message across the ship's comms. Tonight, the fleet orbited a star, a blue star. Humans guided them into orbit around a small planet. Glowing green, the planet was peaceful. Water oceans, forests, white clouds. No visible guns, no fleets. Just life. Kale looked at this planet through binocular viewport. He thought of the dead ships behind. Sometimes death followed. Or rescue. Tonight, rescue. He met with Velis. She said quietly, "Some of the crew still think we should leave before docking." "They fear trap." Kale nodded. "We wait until morning. Let them see what Deloria 7 looks like, then decide with clear mind." They watched Nova Star send out docking shuttles. As tenders lowered to the planet, the Varnak watched in silence. Each shuttle came back full of human supplies, and Varnak survivors healed, wearing blankets and weak smiles. On the shuttle bay, the human captain, a tall woman with calm eyes, approached. She extended her hand. "Welcome. We are honored to help." Kale felt pain in his throat. He shook her hand quietly. "I thank you." His voice cracked. "We have never seen kindness like this." The captain nodded. "Then trust us. Now we will take you home." As the shuttles disappeared into the planet's atmosphere, Kale looked at his fleet. Behind him, ships flickered with new lights, shields restored, engines humming. In the distance, Varnak crafts loaded with food, water, medicine. Children slept in blankets with warmth. Still, Kale felt uncertain. He stood before his officers. The council members looked drained, but alive. Their voices trembled as they asked, "Why? Why help us? Kale answered, We do not yet know fully. But let us listen. Let us see what they offer. We follow them, but we remain cautious. We are alive because we dared to trust once more. In the deep dark of space, a new dawn glimmered in the distance. Humans had extended their hand. The Varnak drifted no longer alone. The Varnak fleet followed the human ship Nova Star through empty space. Their engines, once sputtering, now hummed softly with the help of human repair crews. But even as their ships held together, fear still gnawed at the Varnak hearts. Kale stood on the Corvallis command deck, staring at the human vessel's glowing white hull on the main screen. Its shape was unfamiliar, almost graceful, like a bird with outstretched wings. No visible weapons, no heavy armor, just sleek panels and bright beacons leading them forward. Velis approached cautiously. Commander, the crew is restless. Many are asking why the humans are helping us. Some say this is a trap. Others, they think we owe them something. Kale's face was tired. His black eyes did not leave the image of the Nova Star. They are not wrong to fear, he said quietly. We have been betrayed too many times before. But we cannot turn away now, not when hope is so close. Velis lowered her voice. What if they want slaves, Kale? Or worse, the crew believes no one helps without a price. Kale thought of the human doctor, Dr. Lin, who had fed him and treated their wounded without question. He thought of the way human children had waved at Varnak children through shuttle windows. No cruelty, no hatred. Just simple kindness. I do not know their reasons yet, Kale admitted. But we must see this through. Tell the crew to stay alert. If the humans betray us, we will fight. But for now, we follow. Velis nodded and walked off to calm the others. Kale turned his attention back to the human ship. The approach hours later, the Nova Star slowed its engines and sent a message across the fleet. Prepare for docking. One representative from each ship will meet with our captain to discuss your needs. Kale felt the tension rise immediately. Each ship's crew argued among themselves. Who would they send? Would the humans take them prisoner the moment they boarded? On the Corvallis, Velis urged Kale not to go personally. Commander, it's too dangerous. If they take you, the fleet will collapse. But Kale shook his head. I must go. If this is truly a trap, better I see it with my own eyes. Minutes later, Kale stood in a small shuttle bay as the docking tube connected to the Nova Star. The metallic clang rang through the chamber like a warning bell. He glanced at Velis, who stood at his side as a guard. She carried only a short blade, nothing more. The humans had forbidden weapons on board. Kale had agreed reluctantly. The airlock opened with a hiss. Warm light flooded the Varnak shuttle bay. Kale blinked against it. Then he stepped forward. The corridor of the Nova Star was clean, white, and strangely welcoming. Soft lights glowed in the walls. The air smelled fresh, not recycled. Humans stood along the sides, their faces calm, their hands empty. To show no threat, at the far end of the corridor stood the ship's captain, the tall human woman Kale had shaken hands with before. She smiled faintly. Welcome aboard, she said. Her voice was steady and warm. I am Captain Elena Rourke. You are safe here. Kale studied her carefully. I am Kale, commander of the Varnak fleet. I thank you for saving my people, but I must know why. Captain Rourke met his gaze without flinching. Because you needed help, and we could help you. Kale's brow furrowed. That is not an answer. No one has ever helped us without taking something. What do you want from U.S. weapons, resources, slaves? The captain's smile faded. None of those, she said firmly. We want nothing from you, Commander. We only want you to live. Velis stepped forward angrily. Lies, no species gives without price. Do you think us fools? Captain Rourke did not react. I understand your fear, but you will see soon. Humans help because it is right, not because we expect something in return. Kale did not know what to say. Her words felt impossible. But there was no threat in her voice. Doctor of the ship Captain Rourke gestured for Kale and Villis to follow her. Come, let me show you how we operate. Perhaps that will ease your fears. They walked through the Nova Star's corridors. Everywhere, Kale saw human crew working together. Engineers repaired damaged Varnak technology brought on board. Medics tended to sick Varnak children, their voices soft and reassuring. One human child, maybe 10 years old, ran past carrying a basket of bread. He almost tripped, but a Varnak medic caught him gently and returned the basket. The child smiled up at the alien without fear. Velis whispered, "They treat us as if we are friends." Kale felt a strange warmth in his chest. He could not remember the last time any species treated the Varnak like equals. In the cargo bay, Kale saw crates of supplies, food, water, medicine. Captain Rourke pointed to them. "These are for your fleet," she said. "We will load them onto your ships after this meeting. Then we will travel together to Deloria the 7th, a safe colony. You will have shelter there." Kale stared at the crates. "All of this freely given?" "Yes," Rourke said simply. Kale's claws flexed. "This makes no sense. What will you gain?" Rourke met his gaze again. "Nothing. But we cannot ignore suffering when we see it. That is not the human way." Doubt and fear later, Kale returned to the Corvilles with Velis. The other ship leaders gathered immediately, eager for news. "What did they say?" one asked. "Are we their prisoners now?" Kale shook his head. "No, they wish to help us. They asked for nothing." The council erupted with disbelief. "Impossible! It must be a trick. They will enslave us." Velis raised her voice. "I saw their ship, their crew. They treat our children better than some of us do." But the council remained divided. Half wanted to accept human help. Half wanted to leave at once. In the shadows of the council chamber, a figure named Dren, a bitter Varnak officer, whispered to others, "We cannot trust them. We must act before they turn on us. I can steal weapons from the Nova Star. We can escape while they sleep." Kale heard the whispers but said nothing for now. He knew forcing unity would only create more fear. He could only hope the humans would prove themselves before disaster struck. The enemy returns 3 days later. The Varnak fleet and the Nova Star were halfway to Deloria 7. The atmosphere on board had begun to ease. Children laughed again. The sick grew stronger. But Kale still felt a shadow lurking in the back of his mind. That shadow became real when alarms blared across the fleet. Velis rushed to the command deck. "Commander, multiple ships detected on long-range scanners." "It's the raiders." Kale's blood ran cold. The raiders were the same enemy that had hunted the Varnak for years, driving them from one planet to the next. Now they had found them. Again. How many? Kale demanded. 8 warships, heavily armed, Velis reported. "They are broadcasting a demand. Surrender the Varnak or be destroyed." The council panicked. "The humans will hand us over." One shouted. "That is what every other species has done." Kale turned to Velis. "Contact Captain Rourke. We must know her answer." The human decision the com screen flickered. Captain Rourke's face appeared. She looked calm, but her eyes were sharp. "Commander." "Kale," she said, "you already know their demand." Kale swallowed hard. "Yes, and what will you do?" Rourke leaned forward. "We will not hand you over." The council gasped. "They are mad. They will die for us?" Kale stared at her. "You would face their guns for us?" "Why? We are not your people." Rourke's voice was steady. "Because you are in our care now. Because no one else stood up for you." "We will," Velis whispered. "They are outnumbered 5 to 1. They cannot win." But Rourke simply said, "We will fight. And we will protect you." Preparing for battle, the Nova Star began deploying fighters and activating shields. Human engineers rushed through the Varnak ships, helping them repair weapons and engines as fast as possible. Kale stood in the Corvallis war room, staring at the holographic map. The enemy fleet closed in fast. There was no chance to run. Velis looked at him. "Commander, what if we fought with them? We could use every working gun we have." Kale hesitated. His people were weak, untrained, terrified. But he could not watch the humans die alone. He activated the fleet-wide comm. "All ships, prepare for battle. Stand with the humans. We will not abandon those who saved us." The battle begins. The stars outside lit up with weapons fire as the raiders attacked. Explosions tore through the black. Human and Varnak ships fought side by side, forming a wall of ships in front of the enemy. Kale felt the Corvallis shudder as plasma bolts struck its shields. He gritted his teeth and fired back, each shot a roar of defiance. Through the viewport, he saw the Nova Star holding the center line. Enemy warships targeted it relentlessly, but it refused to fall back. On the comm, Rourke's voice came steady and firm. "Hold the line, we do not break." The Varnak fought harder than they ever had. They were tired, hungry, and weak, but something inside them burned bright now. They would not let the humans die. A sacrifice. An enemy dreadnought, massive and heavily armed, pushed through the line. It aimed its super cannon directly at the Varnak transports. Kale's heart stopped. If it fires, hundreds will die. Then he heard Rourke's voice on the comm. "Nova Star will intercept." Kale's eyes widened. "No, you cannot," but it was too late. The Nova Star, burning from countless wounds, accelerated straight toward the dreadnought. "Captain Rourke!" Kale shouted. Her last transmission came through, calm and sure. "Family protects family. Remember that." The Nova Star rammed the dreadnought at full speed. The explosion lit up space like a newborn sun. Both ships were destroyed instantly. Aftermath. The remaining enemy ships, shocked by the destruction of their flagship, broke formation and fled. Silence fell across the battlefield. Only debris and the faint hum of surviving engines remained. Kale stood frozen, staring at the wreckage where the Nova Star had been. He felt his chest ache. Humans had died. "For them," Velis whispered, tears in her eyes. "They could have handed us over. But they didn't." Kale clenched his fists. "No, they called us family. And they proved it." He turned to the surviving fleet. "We will not waste their sacrifice. We will reach Deloria 7, and we will honor the humans who gave us a future." The Varnak fleet moved slowly through space, following the course that the humans had set before their sacrifice. The Nova Star was gone, but its coordinates to Deloria, the 7th, still glowed on their navigation screens. Kale stood at the command deck of the Corvallis, in silence. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, cold and distant. He could still see the light of the Nova Star's explosion in his mind. He could still hear Captain Rourke's final words. "Family protects family, remember that." The Varnak crew moved quietly around him. There was no cheering for survival, no relief, only grief. They had lost the only ship and the only humans who had treated them as equals. Velis walked up to him. Her face was drawn, her voice low. "Commander, we should be happy to be alive, but—" Kale nodded. "But we are not. They died for us." Velis's hands trembled slightly. Some of the crew think maybe the humans knew they were going to die from the start, that they only pretended to help us so we would owe them. Kale looked at her sharply. "Do you believe that?" Velis hesitated. I do not want to. But Kale, we know nothing about humans. They gave us everything, and they died in the process. Some think that is too perfect, too clean. There are whispers, dangerous ones. The seeds of Daugan. The lower decks, a group of Varnak gathered in secret. At the center of the group was Dren, a hard-eyed officer who had long distrusted the humans. They died for us. Yes, Dren said, his voice cutting through the low murmur of the crowd. But why? Out of kindness? Kindness is a lie. No species helps without reason. A younger crew member argued softly, but they asked for nothing. They asked for trust, Dren interrupted, and we gave it. Now we are headed to their colony, a human colony. How do we know it isn't another trap? They could enslave us the moment we land. The crowd shifted uneasily. They called us family, another voice whispered. Dren laughed coldly. Words, nothing more. We have followed others before. We have believed promises before. And every time, it ended in fire. Are we so foolish? We will walk into another cage. The group looked at each other. Their fear grew. Dren lowered his voice. Listen carefully. When we reach Deloria 7, we must be ready. We will find weapons, ships, whatever we can. If the humans betray us, we will strike first. The whispers of doubt spread like poison. Kale's Burdenkale sat in the captain's chamber, staring at the star map. Vela stood nearby, silent. Finally, Kale said, We must reach Deloria the 7th. But what then? We have no allies. No resources. If the humans there are not like Rourke and her crew. He trailed off. Vela spoke quietly. The crew need hope, Kale. They cannot live on fear alone. Kale rubbed his temples. Hope is fragile. One wrong step and it breaks. I fear it is already cracking. As if on cue, the door opened. Dren entered without permission, his face hard. Commander, he said flatly, we need answers. Where are you leading us? What do we really know about Deloria 7? Kale met his stare. It is a human colony. Rourke promised it was safe. Dren snorted. And you believe her? She is dead, Kale. We only have her words, and words mean nothing. Vela stepped forward, anger flashing in her eyes. You dishonor her sacrifice. Dren ignored her. We are walking blind into a trap. We should leave this course now and find our own world. Kale rose from his chair slowly. And how will we survive alone? We have no supplies, no allies. Do you want to lead the fleet to starvation? Dren's jaw tightened. Better to die free than live as human pets. The room fell silent. Kale's voice was cold when he spoke. You forget yourself, Dren. You are an officer. You will follow my orders. We will reach Deloria 7. That is final. Dren glared at him, but finally bowed his head. As you command, Commander. He left the chamber. Velis exhaled shakily. He will not stop, Kale. His fear is too strong. Kale nodded. I know, but I do not yet know how to stop him. A quiet betrayal 2 days later, as the fleet drifted through empty space. A silent alert flashed on Kale's console. Unauthorized access detected in the weapons hold. Kale rushed there with Velis. They found Dren and 2 others loading crates of rifles into a hidden compartment. What are you doing? Kale demanded. Dren did not flinch. Preparing for what is coming. When we land on Deloria the 7th, the humans will betray us. We must be ready. You are stealing from your own people. Velis shouted. Not stealing, Dren said. Protecting. Kale stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. If you take those weapons, you will divide the fleet. Do you want us to destroy ourselves before we even reach safety? Dren's expression did not change. Better to be ready for betrayal than die unarmed. Kale stared at him for a long moment. Then he said, Return those weapons. Now that is an order. Dren's eyes narrowed. No, Commander, I will not. Too many of us have died because we trusted others. I will not add to that number. He turned and walked out, the weapons still hidden. Velis whispered, We should stop him, if he spreads more fear. Kale shook his head slowly. Not yet. If we strike now, the crew will see us as tyrants. We must wait. and hope that Deloria 7 proves the humans' intentions true. The first sight on the 10th day after the Nova Star's destruction. The fleet finally saw Deloria V. It was a beautiful world. Blue oceans sparkled beneath white clouds. Green continents stretched wide, unscarred by war. Sunlight glinted off peaceful cities near the coasts. The Varnak gathered at viewports, staring in awe. Many of them had never seen such a world. Velis whispered, "It looks like paradise." Kale's chest ached. "Appearances can deceive," he said softly. But deep inside, he wanted to believe. A transmission came from the planet's surface. "This is Governor Malik of Deloria 7. Varnak fleet, you are welcome here. Prepare to land, medical teams and supplies are ready." The voice was warm, but cautious. Kale hesitated, then replied, "We accept your offer, but understand we are wary. Too many have betrayed us." Governor Malik's voice softened. "I understand, Commander. We will prove ourselves with actions, not words. Come." Landing, the Varnak ships descended through the planet's atmosphere. For the first time in years, they felt the warmth of real sunlight on their hulls. They landed on vast open pads near the human city. As the ramps lowered, Kale stepped out first. The air smelled fresh, full of life. Humans in clean uniforms waited with crates of food and water. They stood still, their hands open, no weapons visible. "Governor." Malik approached Kale with a slow, respectful bow. He was older than Rourke had been, with dark hair streaked with gray. "Welcome, Commander," he said. "You and your people are safe here." Kale studied his face carefully. "You know nothing about us. Why risk helping us?" Malik smiled. "Faintly, because that is what we do. Because Rourke was one of ours. She believed in you. We do too." Kale felt a lump in his throat. He bowed his head slightly. "Then we will try to be worthy of that belief." Tension grows for several days. The Varnak were treated with kindness. Human doctors healed their wounds. Human engineers repaired their ships. Children played together in the open fields. But the whispers did not stop. Dren moved quietly among the Varnak camps, spreading his fear. "Do you not see how easy this is? Too easy. They give us food, medicine, shelter. It is a trap. They will demand obedience soon, and when we refuse, they will strike." Some believed him. Others tried to ignore him. But his words stuck in their minds. One night, Kale found Dren speaking to a group near the supply depot. "You are lying to them," Kale said coldly. Dren smiled thinly. "I am telling them the truth. You are too blind to see it." Kale stepped closer. "If you push this fear any further, you will tear us apart." "Stop, Dren. I will not ask again." Dren's expression hardened. "Then do what you must, Commander. But I will be ready when the humans show their true face." A hidden threat. 2 nights later, an explosion rocked the edge of the human city. Kale ran to the site with Velis. Supply depot was in flames. Humans and Varnak worked side by side to put out the fire. Governor Malik approached Kale, his face grim. This was no accident. Someone planted an explosive charge. Kale's chest tightened. "I will find who did this." He already knew who. Confrontation. Kale confronted Dren in the dark of the Varnak camp. "You planted the bomb," Kale said. Dren did not deny it. "Yes, and I would do it again. The humans must know we will not be tamed. You could have killed innocents," Kale roared. "Innocents?" Dren spat. "You think the humans are innocent? They will enslave us, Kale. I would rather strike first than be shackled again." Kale stepped forward slowly. "You are finished, Dren. You will not harm these people again." Dren's hand went to his hidden weapon. "I will do what is necessary." But Velis appeared behind him, her blade at his throat. "No," she said quietly. Dren froze. Kale's voice was heavy with sorrow. "I hoped you would see reason, but you leave me no choice. Dren, you are banished from the fleet." Dren's eyes widened. You cannot. You will be given a ship, food, and supplies, Kale said. But you will go alone. If you return, we will fire upon you. Dren's face twisted with rage. You are condemning us all. No, Kale said softly. I am saving what remains of us. The choice. The next morning, the Varnak watched. As Dren's small ship lifted off the pad and disappeared into the sky, Governor Malik stood beside Kale. That was not easy, he said quietly. Kale shook his head. No, but if we live in fear forever, we will never be free. Malik placed a hand on Kale's shoulder. You have made the right choice. We will help you rebuild, Commander. But you must also trust us. Kale looked out at the Varnak camps, where children played in the sunlight. For the first time, he allowed himself to believe this place might truly be a home. But deep down, he knew danger still lurked beyond the stars. The raiders would return. And now the humans and Varnak stood together. He whispered Rourke's words under his breath. Family protects family. And he vowed that when the time came, they would. The sun of Deloria VII rose slowly over the human colony. Golden lights spilled across the landing pads, shining on Varnak ships that had not seen real daylight in years. The air was warm and clean, carrying the scent of the ocean nearby. Kale stood on the edge of the pad, his gaze locked on the horizon. He could hear children laughing somewhere behind him, both Varnak and human, but he did not smile. The colony felt safe, yet his instincts warned him danger was not far away. Vele stepped up beside him. The people are starting to believe this place might be a real home, she said softly. Kale nodded, though his face remained hard. Hope is dangerous, he said. We must be ready if it is taken from us. Veles frowned. You think the humans will betray us? Kale shook his head. No, but others will come. The raiders will not let us rest. As if summoned by his words, an alarm suddenly rang through the colony. The warning Governor Malik appeared on the screen, his face grim. Commander Kale, he said, our satellites have detected ships at the edge of the system. Too many to count. They are coming straight here. Kale's stomach tightened. The raiders. Yes, Malik confirmed. This time, it is not a small strike force. It is their full fleet. Veles's hands clenched. How many? Malik's voice was low. At least 30 warships, heavy guns. Enough to destroy the colony and everyone in it. The room fell silent. Kale's voice was steady when he spoke. We must evacuate. But Malik shook his head. We cannot. There is nowhere to go. If we try to flee, they will hunt us down. We must fight. Kale stared at him. Fight? You saw what it cost the Nova Star. You would face 30 ships with this small colony? Malik's eyes burned with quiet fire. We will not run. This world is our home. If we leave now, we lose everything, and we will not abandon you. The defense plan. Malik called a meeting of both human and Varnak leaders. They gathered in the colony's war room, a large chamber, filled with holographic maps and satellite feeds. The image of the raider fleet loomed in the center of the table, massive. Warships bristling with weapons. We do not have the numbers to match them, Malik admitted. But we have the ground advantage. If we can lure them close, our planetary defenses can do the rest. Kale studied the map. You have defenses strong enough to stop 30 ships. Strong enough to make them pay, Malik said. And we will use every Varnak ship as well. Together we may hold them back. Veles looked uncertain. Our ships are barely repaired. Half their weapons still do not work. Half a weapon is better than none, Malik said firmly. We cannot hide. We must stand. Kale's gaze swept the room. Human officers met his eyes with calm determination. He had seen this same look in Captain Rourke before she rammed the Nova Star into the raider dreadnought. He realized then that the humans truly meant it. They would die before they abandoned their allies. Very well. Kale said. "We will fight with you. But understand this. If the battle turns against us, I will order the Varnak to flee. We cannot all die here." Malak's voice was quiet. "I understand, but we will not flee. This is our ground." Preparing for battle, the colony came alive with activity. Human engineers armed the orbital defense platforms, while Varnak crews scrambled to fit weapons onto their repaired ships. Kale walked among his people, speaking to them in calm, measured tones. "We fight for our lives, but we do not fight alone. The humans have given us shelter and food. Today we stand with them." Velis worked beside human soldiers in the trenches that ringed the colony. She watched them dig deep bunkers and place explosive traps with practiced precision. "They are not afraid," she whispered to herself. One soldier looked up and smiled. "Fear doesn't help," he said. "We just do the work and trust each other." Velis felt a strange warmth at his words. Trust. Could it really be that simple? The raiders arrive hours later. The sky turned black with raider warships. Kale stood on the command deck of the Corvallis, watching the enemy fleet approach. The colony's orbital defenses opened fire first, launching bright streaks of plasma into the sky. One raider ship exploded instantly, but the rest kept coming. A booming voice echoed across the comm channels. "Varnak fleet, surrender now. The humans cannot protect you. We will burn this world if you resist." Kale's jaw tightened. He opened the channel and answered, his voice sharp as a blade. "We will not surrender. You will not take us again." The raiders laughed cruelly. "Then you will all die." And the battle began. The first wave, the raider warships, unleashed a storm of fire. Explosions ripped through the sky as the Varnak fleet rose to meet them. Kale's ship shook violently as enemy rounds slammed into its shields. "Hold formation," he ordered. Human fighters darted through the chaos, striking enemy ships with precision. Ground-based cannons fired from hidden bunkers, tearing through raider armor. Velis fought alongside human soldiers in the trenches. The ground quaked with each orbital blast. But the humans held their lines, shouting encouragement to each other even as casualties mounted. "More incoming," a human sergeant yelled. "Don't let them breach the wall." Velis fired her weapon until her arms ached. Beside her, a human soldier fell, wounded. She grabbed him and dragged him into cover. "Why risk your life for me?" he whispered through bloodied lips. "Because we fight together," Velis said. The turning point. After hours of relentless fighting, the colony's defenses began to fail. One orbital platform exploded, leaving a gap in the shield. Raider dropships slipped through, landing troops near the colony. Kale received the report and felt his chest tighten. "If they breach the city, it is over," he told Malak over the comm. Malak's voice was calm. "Then we do not let them breach." He called for the Aegis Protocol. Kale watched in shock as massive towers rose from the colony's surface, glowing with power. Energy shields expanded from the towers, sealing the city in a protective dome. The raiders' ground forces slammed against the barrier, but could not break through. Malak's voice came again. "Commander, the shield will not hold forever. You must push the raiders back now." Kale gritted his teeth. "Understood." The Varnak strike back. Kale rallied the Varnak fleet for a counterattack. "Every ship, follow me," he shouted. "We strike at their flagship." The battered Varnak ships surged forward, weaving through enemy fire. Human fighters joined them, forming a spear aimed directly at the raider command ship. "Fire all weapons." Kale roared. The combined volley of Varnak and human fire tore into the raider flagship. Its shields flickered, then failed, but the flagship retaliated with devastating force. A Varnak transport was obliterated in an instant. Kale felt the loss like a blade in his chest. "Keep firing," he ordered. Malak stand on the ground. The raiders focused their fire on the shield towers. One by one, the towers began to fall. Malik stood at the central tower, directing defenses. A young officer ran up to him. "Governor, we can't hold much longer." Malik's voice was steady. "We hold until the fleet breaks their command ship. That is our only chance." Another blast rocked the tower. Debris rained down. Malik pulled the officer out of the way just in time. "If the shield falls," Malik said grimly, "prepare to fight in the streets." The final blow. Kale's fleet closed in on the Raider flagship. Velas's voice came over the com from her. "Ground position. Kale, the shield won't last. You must end this now." Kale's hands tightened on the controls. He thought of Captain Rourke, of the Nova Star's sacrifice. "Target their reactor," he ordered. The Corvallis and its allies unleashed everything they had. Plasma fire lanced through the enemy ship's hull. The reactor detonated in a brilliant explosion. The shockwave tore through the Raider fleet. Without their flagship's coordination, the remaining ships faltered. Human and Varnak fighters pushed them back, ship by ship, until they finally fled into the darkness. Aftermath silence fell over Deloria 7. The battlefield was littered with wreckage and smoke. Kale stepped down from the Corvallis, his legs heavy. He looked around at the wounded, the dead, the exhausted survivors. Velas approached, covered in dirt and blood. "We held," she said softly. Kale nodded. "Because the humans stood their ground. And because we stood with them." Governor Malik emerged from the damaged shield tower. He was limping, but alive. "You fought well, Commander," he said. "Your people fought with courage." Kale met his eyes. "We learned it from you," Malik smiled faintly. "Then maybe. We truly are family now." A new oath that night. A memorial was held for the fallen. Humans and Varnak stood side by side, lighting small flames that floated into the sky. Kale looked up at the stars and whispered, Captain Rourke's words again. "Family protects family." He turned to Malik. "The Raiders will return. We both know this." "Yes," Malik said quietly. "Then we will be ready," Kale said. "From this day, the Varnak will stand with the humans. We will fight for each other. No one will take this world from us." Malik extended his hand. Kale took it firmly. "Together," Malik said. "Together." Kale echoed Dot, and for the first time in years, Kale felt the future was not only possible, but worth fighting for. The peace on Deloria, the 7th, was fragile, like a thin ice sheet over Dark Lake. The Varnak and humans had stood side by side to repel the Raider attack, but the cost had been high. Ships were lost, many had died. The scars of battle ran deep. Kale stood on a hill overlooking the colony. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky red and orange. Children's laughter drifted from the village below, but Kale heard only the heavy beat of war in his heart. Velas came beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon. "They will come again," she said quietly. Kale nodded. "They will not forget this defeat. The Raiders are dangerous, patient." The humans worked hard to rebuild. Governor Malik had called for unity, but fear and anger simmered beneath the surface. A shadow returns 3 weeks after the battle. A distant warning flashed across the colony's sensors. "Unidentified ships approaching," said a young technician. "No markings, no transmissions." Kale's jaw tightened. Could it be the Raiders? Governor Malik appeared on the screen. His voice was tense. "Unknown, but we must prepare for the worst." The colony scrambled to raise shields and ready weapons. The ambush suddenly. The ships dropped out of stealth and opened fire. Missiles and plasma blasts tore into the colony's defenses. This was no normal attack. The Raiders had returned with new weapons and strategies. Kale ran to the command deck of the Corvallis. The ship rocked violently. "Status report." He shouted. "We are taking heavy damage," the officer replied. "They are using stealth fighters to attack our support." "Ships." Velas appeared beside Kale, her face pale. "Commander, the humans are holding the line. but the enemy is striking hard. Kale clenched his fists. We will not fall again. The mystery enemy, the raiders' new attackers, were unlike anything the Varnak had seen. Sleek, black ships that moved too fast to track. They hit hard and vanished before anyone could respond. Kale studied the enemy ships on the screen. These ships, they are not raiders. Malik's voice crackled over the comm. We suspect a third party has joined the fight. Possibly mercenaries hired by the raiders. Vela shook her head. That means our enemies are stronger than before. We must be careful. A dangerous plan. Kale gathered his commanders and human officers in the war room. We cannot wait for them to destroy us, he said. We must strike first, Malik nodded. But where? They have stealth ships. We do not know their base. Kale's eyes narrowed. We will use the old Varnak tactics, hit and run attacks. But this time, we will try to capture one of their ships. The humans agreed. A captured ship could give us technology and answers, Velas added, but it will be dangerous. They will be expecting us. Kale smiled grimly. Then we must be smarter. The trap. 2 days later, Kale led a small squadron on a covert mission. They followed a trail of destroyed supply ships, hoping it would lead to the enemy's hidden base. As they approached a dark asteroid belt, alarms blared. Ambush! A pilot shouted. Enemy fighters swarmed from the shadows. The Corvallis and its escorts fought fiercely. Kale's ship took heavy hits. His shields flickered dangerously. We must retreat, Velas ordered. Kale shook his head. No, we will not run. With skill and courage, the Varnak and human pilots turned the fight. They destroyed several enemy ships and broke the ambush, but Kale knew this was only the beginning. The captured ship. After the battle, the squadron found a damaged enemy vessel drifting near the asteroid belt. Kale ordered a boarding party. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. The walls were covered with strange symbols. The boarding team found data terminals and weapons unlike anything they had seen. Kale examined the technology carefully. This is advanced, far beyond the raiders. Velas frowned. Who are these? Enemies? Before they could answer, alarms blared. The ship's self-destruct sequence had begun. Evacuate! Kale shouted. They barely escaped before the ship exploded in a fireball. New allies back at the colony. Kale and Malik studied the captured data. It showed coordinates to a distant system, an unknown world where their new enemies might be hiding. Malik looked thoughtful. If we want to survive, we must take the fight to them. Kale nodded. We will need allies. Velas spoke up. The humans have friends among other species. Maybe they can help. Malik smiled faintly. I will contact our allies. The Council of Friends. Days later, representatives from several friendly species arrived at the Loria VII. They gathered in a council chamber, where Kale and Malik stood, side by side. The air was tense but hopeful. A tall alien with blue skin and many eyes spoke first. We cannot ignore the threat. If the raiders and their new allies grow stronger, the whole galaxy will suffer. Kale stepped forward. We ask for your help. Together we can stop them. The council debated. Some feared war. Others feared the enemy more. In the end, they agreed to form an alliance, one that included humans, Varnak, and others. The new alliance began training together. Varnak learned human tactics. Humans studied Varnak ship systems. Kale and Velas watched as their people forged bonds of trust. It is strange, Velas said. How we once feared each other and now fight as one. Kale smiled. We were never enemies, only scared. The coming storm. But the peace was brief. Sensors picked up massive fleets, gathering near the unknown system from the captured data. The raiders and their new allies prepared for a war that could destroy everything. Kale stood once more on the hill overlooking the colony. He clenched his fists and whispered, "We will not let them win." Velas nodded beside him. "For our family," Kale smiled grimly. For family. The stars above Deloria the Seventh shone cold and distant. But beneath their light, the people of the colony prepared for war. The peaceful days were gone. The threat from the raiders and their new allies was no longer a shadow. It was real, and it was coming. Kale stood on the command deck of the Corvallis. Around him, the hum of ship engines and the chatter of officers filled the room. His eyes scanned the hollow map of the galaxy. Red markers showed enemy fleets gathering near the unknown system. The war was about to begin. Velis approached him quietly. Commander, the Alliance fleet is ready. Our ships have been repaired and upgraded. The human pilots are eager. Kale nodded. Good. We cannot afford to lose. The Council's decision. The Great Hall of Deloria the Seventh, the leaders of the Alliance met again. Humans, Varnak, and the other species stood together. Their faces were serious. Governor Malik addressed the group. The enemy is strong, but they are not invincible. We must strike first and hard. Delay will only cost us more lives. The blue-skinned alien, named Zoran, spoke next. Our spies report the enemy is gathering weapons in the asteroid fields near their home base. It is our best chance to weaken them. Kale added, we will lead the strike. The Varnak fleet and human squadrons will work together to break their defenses. The Council agreed. The plan was set. Preparing for battle back on the Corvallis, Kale gave orders to his officers. Check all weapons. Calibrate shields. Every crew member must be ready. Velis trained the pilots, running drills that pushed their skills to the limit. Remember, trust each other. Watch your six. The human and Varnak crews shared stories and laughter. The fear that once divided them was fading. They were becoming family. The journey to the unknown. The Alliance fleet left Deloria 7 in formation. Ships moved through the dark space engines. Glowing softly, Kale stood at the front of the command deck. The unknown system awaited, dark, mysterious, dangerous. His thoughts drifted to Captain Rourke. Her sacrifice had started this journey. He whispered, we fight for her. For all who died. The first encounter as the fleet neared the asteroid field, enemy ships appeared from hiding. Their black hulls gleamed under distant stars. Enemy ships detected. A pilot shouted. Kale's voice rang out. All ships, prepare for combat. The battle erupted suddenly. Lasers and plasma bolts flashed across space. Explosions lit the dark. Varnak ships darted through the asteroids, using their agility to avoid enemy fire. Human pilots flew in tight formations, protecting the larger vessels. Velis called out, focus fire on their command ship. A fierce fight. The enemy fought fiercely. Their weapons were deadly, their tactics smart. Kale directed the fleet with calm and sharp orders. Protect the support ships. Keep the line tight. One enemy fighter broke through the formation and aimed at the Corvallis. Target on us, shouted the weapons officer. Kale gripped the controls. Divert power to shields. Fire all turrets. The Corvallis shook as lasers hit its armor. The crew worked quickly to repair damage. Velis led a squadron to intercept the attacker, shooting it down before it could do more harm. The turning tide. After hours of battle, the Alliance fleet began to push the enemy back. Kale saw the command ship shields flicker. Now, full-power weapons fire. A concentrated barrage hit the enemy flagship. It shuddered and exploded in a brilliant fireball. The remaining enemy ships faltered, then fled into the darkness. The Alliance fleet cheered, but Kale held back his smile. The war was far from over. A heavy price. The victory came with loss. Many ships were damaged or destroyed. Crew members were injured or dead. Kale visited the wounded in the medical bay. Velis helped tend the injured. The weight of loss pressed on them all. An unexpected message suddenly. A strange signal arrived from deep space. Unknown origin. The communications officer said. Kale ordered it to be decrypted. The message was clear and chilling. Surrender or be destroyed. The galaxy belongs to us. No signature, no name. But the threat was real. Rising resolve. Kale gathered the Alliance leaders again. We face a new enemy, he said. Stronger and more dangerous. Governor Malik nodded. We will stand together. We have no other choice. Velas smiled slightly. We fight for family. We fight for home. Kale looked at the stars and made a silent vow. No matter the cost, they would protect each other. The Alliance fleet floated in deep space, silent and still. Each ship bore the scars of the last battle. Repairs were ongoing, but there was little time left. The enemy's threat hung over them like a shadow. Kale stood on the bridge of the Corvallis, looking at the holographic map of the galaxy. Red markers glowed across star systems, showing where enemy fleets had struck. Colonies burned. Whole species were being hunted. Velas joined him quietly. Reports say the enemy destroyed 2 more colonies, she said. No survivors. Kale's jaw tightened. They want us afraid. They want us to surrender before the real battle begins. Velas shook her head. We can't surrender, not after everything we've fought for. Kale placed a hand on the console. Then we fight. But this will be the hardest battle of our lives. The enemy advances. A meeting of the Alliance leaders was called on Deloria 7. Humans, Varnak, and other allied species crowded into the Grand Council Hall. The air was thick with tension. Governor Malik stood at the front. The enemy is moving toward our core worlds. They will reach Deloria 7 within days if we do nothing. Zoran, the tall blue-skinned alien, stepped forward. We cannot defend every world. We must draw them into one final battle. Kale nodded. We will make our stand at Deloria 7. It is our strongest position, and we know the terrain. Malik agreed. If we fall here, there will be nowhere else to run. Preparing for the end, the decision was made. Every ship and soldier of the Alliance was called to Deloria V. The colony transformed into a fortress. Massive shield towers were repaired and upgraded. New trenches and bunkers were built. Weapons platforms were hidden in the mountains. On the ground, humans and Varnak worked side by side. Velas oversaw the defenses, speaking to soldiers in calm, strong words. We stand together, she told them. Do not break ranks. Do not give up hope. Kale inspected the fleet as it assembled in orbit. Hundreds of ships filled the void, their engines glowing like stars. He spoke to his officers. This is it. We fight for our families. For every life lost to the enemy, we will not fail. The calm before the storm. On the eve of battle, Kale walked through the colony. Children played in the streets, laughing, unaware of the danger to Kufa. Come. He stopped when he saw Governor Malik speaking with civilians. Malik's voice was calm, even as he handed out evacuation orders. Kale approached him. There may not be time to get everyone out. Malik's expression was grim. I know. But if the shields fail, at least some will survive. Kale felt the heavy weight of leadership pressing on him. I will not let them break through, he promised. The enemy arrives the next morning. Alarms blared. Enemy fleet detected, shouted a communications officer. Kale and Velas rushed to the bridge. The holographic display filled with red markers. The enemy had come in force. Estimate? Kale asked. Over 100 warships, the officer replied. And more behind them. Kale's voice was steady. All ships, hold formation. Ground forces, prepare to defend the colony. We fight here. The enemy commander's voice boomed across the comm channels. You have defied us for the last time. This world will burn. Kale replied coldly. You will find we do not burn easily. The first strike, the enemy fleet opened fire. Beams of energy and plasma missiles rained down from the sky. The Alliance fleet met them head-on. Human and Varnak ships darted forward, returning fire with precision. In orbit, the Corvallis led the counterattack. Kale's voice rang out across the comms. Hold the line. Protect the shield towers. On the ground, Velas commanded from the central bunker. Focus on the landing zones. Don't let their troops get close. The enemy ships unleashed waves of landing craft, aiming to breach the colony's defenses. Ground combat. The first enemy soldiers hit the ground like a storm. They were larger and faster than any raider Kale had ever seen. Velas stood firm. Hold your fire until they're in range. As the enemy closed in, the humans and Varnak unleashed a devastating volley. Explosions ripped through the enemy ranks, but more poured forward. Fall back to the inner defenses. Velas ordered. The streets of Deloria 7 became a battlefield. Soldiers fought from doorways and rooftops. Civilians hid in underground shelters as the sounds of war thundered above. Orbital desperation. In orbit, the Corvallis was taking heavy damage, shields at 30%. An officer shouted. Kale gritted his teeth. Divert power from weapons to shields. We must hold the line until the ground forces can regroup. But the enemy flagship was pushing hard, cutting through Allied ships one by one. Kale made a grim decision. Signal all ships. Focus fire on the flagship. If we take it down, we might break their formation. The Alliance fleet obeyed. A storm of plasma and missiles struck the enemy flagship. It shuddered, but did not fall. Velas's stand on the ground. Velas's unit was nearly surrounded. Enemy troops poured through a breached wall. She rallied her soldiers. We do not retreat. This is our home. With a roar, the humans and Varnak counterattacked. The fighting was brutal. Hand to hand in the burning streets. Vel, Ice fought with a blade in one hand and a blaster in the other. She was struck across the shoulder but refused to fall. Push them back, she shouted. A glimmer of hope back in orbit. Kale received a message from Governor Malik. The enemy is focusing on the central shield tower. If it falls, we are finished. Kale knew what he had to do. Prepare the Corvallis for a strike run. We will draw their fire. Velas's voice came over the comm. Kale, it's suicide. He answered calmly. If we do nothing, everyone dies. We must give them a chance. The sacrifice. The Corvallis broke formation and charged straight at the enemy flagship. Commander, we won't survive this. The pilot shouted. Kale's voice was firm. Stay on course. Enemy fire slammed into the Corvallis, tearing through its hull. But the ship did not falter. Now! Kale ordered. The Corvallis fired its full payload at point-blank range. The enemy flagship's reactor went critical. A massive explosion ripped through the enemy fleet. Ships were thrown into chaos. Fall back. Kale ordered as alarms blared. The Corvallis barely escaped the blast, its engines failing. The final push with the enemy fleet in disarray. The Alliance launched a counterattack. Drive them back. Velas shouted from the ground, human and Varnak. Forces surged forward, pushing the enemy out of the colony. In orbit, the remaining Alliance ships hunted down the fleeing enemy vessels. Finally, after hours of fighting, the enemy retreated. The skies cleared. Aftermath. The battlefield was silent except for the cries of the wounded. Fires burned in the ruins of Deloria 7, but the colony still stood. Kale stumbled from the wreck of the Corvallis. Velas ran to meet him, relief in her eyes. You're alive, she whispered. Barely, Kale said with a tired smile. Governor Malik approached, his face lined with grief but also pride. We stood our ground. We survived. Kale looked at the survivors, humans, Varnak, and allies. They had fought as one and one, but he knew the cost. Too many had fallen. A new promise that night, under the stars. The survivors held a memorial. Kale spoke softly to the gathered crowd. We fought not for glory, but for each other. Today we proved what family means, and we will never forget those Who gave their lives, Velas added. The enemy may come again. But we will be ready, together. The crowd echoed the word, together. Cale looked up at the stars and thought of Captain Rourke, of all who had sacrificed so much. He whispered, family protects family, always. And for the first time since the war began, he believed that peace might be possible.